Surprise, surprise, people. And literally surprise, even for me. Like, I felt, I don't want to say emotional. I felt passionate about something enough. I didn't want to wait. This is when you work, and by the way, credit Unfiltered Band. Welcome to a surprise episode 5, the bonus ep. Timing is everything, is what I'm entitling this one. And there is the Unfiltered Band. Thank you very much. So, I got passionate about something, and this is when you spend, what was it, like 12, 13 years, or whatever it was for me, 5 days a week, like rarely taking days off, like, 4 hours a day. Like when you're feeling something sports related, like texting a buddy ain't enough. Okay. So I do have, and for those who didn't see, I did reveal it, and I want to hear your ideas on what you would put on this list and other list ideas at Casey Stern on Twitter. But I already revealed on Twitter and YouTube earlier today, as we sit here today on Friday, that coming up on Monday in what will now be episode 6 of Unfiltered, the second list is coming, a 1-hour countdown, and it is a beauty. It is a beauty. At least on paper, the 10 that I chose and the countdown, my own head, the way it's going to play out and the thoughts I have are a beauty. We're looking for the sports hills to die on. The top 10 sports hills to die on. So, example, and I use this in what I put on Twitter, may or may not be in there, but, and I like putting in, to me, I like talking about the hills that nobody else wants to even go on. Like, I'll die on a hill. Like, some people, like, they're running away from that hill like it's got cooties. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. It's not even a question to me. That's one. Right? So, like, the hills that, like I talked about in the first episode, the wave sucks. All right? Non-sports die on a hill. Please, if you eat pineapple on a pizza, I don't want to hear about it. And don't tell me tomatoes are fruit. I don't even want to hear that as some way you loop in why you should have a pineapple on a pizza. Okay? Those are that's a different show. Other hills I die on. Okay? These are sports hills to die on. Some won't even go on. Prospects are cool. Parades are cooler. But I felt some passion about a story that stemmed off of the game that the Astros played actually just an hour or two after I taped in episode 3, which I hope you will go back and listen to and watch if you haven't already with Dusty, who's fantastic. Kind of have to do that from his office at the stadium. But the Jose Siri thing, if you haven't seen it, right? And I don't want to talk about actual Siri because that's a whole nother thing I got a problem with. Every time I get a new phone, which happens often because I break mine all the time. I actually am the one guy, and I'll tell this story very quickly. But sometimes you do something so dumb, you tell someone else or like anyone else a story that isn't real. It's not a lie to you. It's like the real reason why this happened is so dumb, I can't share it with you. But I'll share it with everyone because I don't mind being an idiot. I really don't care what anyone thinks, literally. So I was in a parking lot. And I put my phone on top of my car and then drove away without the phone in the car. Now, I didn't make it very far. I only made it, and you don't like zoom in reverse out of a parking lot. I really don't even remember where I was. I think it may have been Walgreens, actually. But I backed up, and the phone, like, I didn't run over it, but I realized, I think, like halfway down the parking lot, when I went back, the thing was, to quote something that was in the Mitchell report, it was toast. The phone was toast. It was gone. The first thing I do, point being, when I get a new phone, one of the first things I do is, how do I turn Siri off? I can't stand it. I never use it, okay? But let's talk about Jose Siri. So those who didn't see what happened, after Dusty and I chatted, they played an actual game that mattered. Astros are up 7-2. Jordan had already gone deep not once but twice. First 2 at-bats. And Siri, when I say he pimped a home run, like, okay, this was, look, egregious all depends on the timing. I've always said this about these, okay? Timing is everything. That's why I'm calling this episode that, because that is really what it's about, all right? Like, it's not okay to skinny dip, like, in the middle of the afternoon in the community pool. But if you're out at the beach at 3 in the morning when you probably shouldn't be with the person you love and that's what you want to do, maybe that's your thing. Time and place. Let's do that. Time and score and place maybe is everything. Maybe I'll change the title by the time we get done here. You'll have to see. Egregious when you talk about that for a level of a celebration, right? It comes down to the timing and the score and the place. Example. The one more than any I have always defended. A hill I'd die on, but wouldn't be in like my top 10, clearly, right? But one that I would die on because I feel strongly about it, have since. No offense to, any fans of, what was it, the Texas Rangers that they were playing at the time. But when Jose Bautista hit the home run, that was sending the Jays, right, to a place they hadn't been in, their fans, to a feeling they haven't had in 20 years. Okay, not 2 weeks, in 20 years. And we're in the playoffs. No offense to, was it Sam Dyson? Was it Bush or Dyson? It was one of them, right? I think it was Dyson, right? No offense to the pitcher, no offense to the players, no offense to anyone. In that moment, you're feeling so much emotion for what you've accomplished. You're not thinking, like you're in some like out-of-body experience. Now, I could speak to that, not with a bat flip, but with something that got me in trouble, which I've kind of like sort of talked about publicly. But I'll talk about this publicly now because this is unfiltered. I didn't plan to, but it just came up. This is why I don't script things. I probably should. Like certain players should script their tweets, which we'll get back to in a second here. But that is literally exactly what happened to me when I cursed and dropped an F-bomb by accident on TV. Now, there's no excuse. And it's my fault. But that's what happened to me, right? Speaking to Dusty, who was right next to me when it happened, I should have blamed him. And I can't tell you how cool those guys were. I remember I wandered in Manhattan, and this is true. Like, I have no problem sharing this. Like, I wandered in Manhattan. My agent could tell you, I think I maybe left him a message. But I wandered in Manhattan for like 90 minutes after we finally got back from the stadium. It was late. We're in New York. Finally got back into Manhattan. And hours after the game was over, I walked by myself for an hour and a half, not looking at my phone, not doing anything, just like so devastated that I had made that mistake, right? These guys couldn't have been cooler. I remember specifically, and I want to share some of what was said, but I remember in the elevator when we were in the hotel, all three of those guys talking to me, and it was one of the coolest, like, 5-minute spans I've ever had in my life because of, like, who these people were and what they were trying to do for me at the time, right? And being shown respect by them. But I was at Citi Field. I almost said Shea. It would have been even, probably would have dropped 2 F-bombs by accident. I was in Citi Field. I had already had, look, having any career in this business for me, and I really have wanted to do this since I'm 5, I really did raise my hand in first grade and say I wanted to be Bob Murphy, and I don't think anybody knew who that even was, voice of the Mets, late voice of the Mets. So to be in baseball at all, I had already experienced some of these moments, and I got to cover the Mets up close and personal, I guess, for about 4 years, including that 06 season and being in the celebrations for the division title and when they got to the World, and all of that stuff, right? So, pre-Aaron Heilman and Yadier Molina when they almost got to the World Series. So I had experienced some of those, like, pinch me moments, and I consider myself, outside of when Endy Chavez made that catch, and I was in the press area at the time, I consider myself to have been pretty professional, right? As much as we can be. We all give up at bats, to go back into the Dusty thing. So, time and place of a celebration. Dodo over here. We had just gotten done with it was at the end of the first segment of a show like that's always the longest. But it was at the end of the first segment of a pregame show, game 1 against the Cubs. And I'm at the NLCS. I'm a Met fan growing up. I mean, I'm impartial as I can be on the air, but everybody knows who I am, right? I'm a Met fan in terms of like my love, right? I'm at Citi Field. I got Pedro Martinez and Dusty Baker and Gary Sheffield. What the hell am I doing here? And here I ended. It was my second year with Turner. And I'm like, look what I'm doing, right? I was jacked up in terms of like excited. Like, I was walking on sunshine. Oh, like really, okay? When we got done with that segment and it was crisp, it was really good until the only part of it anyone ever remembered when they went to commercial. And I think it was Syndergaard they were showing, I believe, at the time. But I was so excited that I didn't wait for clear, which is what they say in your ear when you're done. Now, normally, they'll kind of turn you down anyway, or you kind of know, but I was always extra careful in spots like that because you're outside, and even the crew, it's very loud. All the fans are in, and, it's not like a ton of people that are pressed in watching you, but it's like 100 people at least, right? The security's trying to keep you kind of, as honest as they can be. In Cleveland when we were there, it must have been like 300, and they were yelling at us consistently, which was a different story. But I was so excited and so, like, proud to be in that moment at all that it literally, I said, boom, MFer, which was like it was like a high five. Like it was like, we nailed it kind of a thing, right? I could spend and go off on another tangent on some of the tweets I got. Like, they thought I was yelling at someone. Who was I mad at on the set? People are dumb, okay? First of all, we have a lot of dumb people in this country and everywhere, all right? But point being, I got carried away, all right? That can happen. But if you're Jose Bautista and you're sending a team to a place they haven't been in 20 years, you can do that. I don't care what you do. There's no... Like with me, which is why I brought up, there's no thought process. Like you're not thinking. It's like an out-of-body experience. You cannot use that excuse when you're up 7-2 in a game that, look, I understand these two teams can meet in the World Series, and along with the Yankees and Dodgers and one or two others, they're firmly planted. And if you're talking power rankings, in the top 5 teams in the game. Okay, I get that. Great, right? And you beat up on them and had now for the second day in a row. I shouldn't have talked to Dusty, but you're not losing yourself in that moment. Like, this isn't one of those moments, right? Like, it's never okay, the boom MFer thing. But, like, if I had done it in an 8th inning, like of some broadcast play-by-play, 7-2 in June, but really a lot dumber, at least for me, right, internally. Would have walked around Manhattan for as long as Moses was wandering the desert, okay? So you can't do it in that spot. And I hate saying that because... And I was just speaking of other episodes, and this is not to pimp out the other episodes, but when I was talking to Todd Frazier about Tim Anderson, I love Tim Anderson. Like, the idea that we have to question, should the game be fun, the word game is in the question. Should the game be fun? What game Chutes and Ladders, if you're playing it, better be fun, except when you go all the way down. That sucks. Or sorry, when you get the 11 and exchange places and got to go backwards. Nobody wants that. But it's got to be fun, right? We should never question that. We've lost that in sports. We are so, like, highfalutin and like, bougie. It's beyond. Get the hell over it, people. But there's an exception to everything. And I've learned this and doing this for 20 years. This is exactly what it's like covering sports. Because I will, not like this is going to be a surprise. Hi. In the list, I will, because I'll promote myself in some way, of what else is new. But on Monday, you talk about prospects are cool, parades are cooler, just because it's been my thing. And I've really delved deeper into it than a lot of people probably understand, because there are probably a lot of people who've heard that have no idea where it came out of. And it was not something I, crafted. This wasn't like at the end of the Masters, what am I going to say when they win? Like, no, this literally was in the middle of a conversation, a rant, in the middle of an afternoon doing a show. And it just turned into what it turned into. But when I explain that on Monday, you'll hear and go delve into it. One of the things you're going to hear me say that has always pissed me off about what people say about that, it's like it is not A to Z across the board always the case. There are exceptions to every rule. It would be like us saying, "Hey, I think you should really just put yourself out there." It doesn't mean walk around the streets naked. Like, there's everything has like a gray area, shades of gray, right? Not 50, but you know what I'm saying, right? Well, when you're sitting there and you're celebrating to this level, which is kind of egregious, and this is not a Met thing, really, it's not. I mean, and whether Dusty was, and I could say this, the old goat or not, right? You're not going to have much of a percentage split on where Siri was with that because of the score and the lateness in the game and what had happened 2 days in a row. And it's BS. I mean, it's ridiculous. It wasn't necessary, okay? This is not like a couple of other scenarios going to bring up in a second where it's like we're not really understanding, okay, yes, some cases, right? Like I mentioned, I think in the first episode, Cordell Patterson, not to get on him, but I happen to remember when he was a wide receiver, I think it was at the time with the Vikings. They're up like 35, they're down 35-0, and he's high-stepping down the sideline. I wanted to smack the guy myself. Like, that's ridiculous, right? Forget about what his teammates must be thinking and delivering some kind of code red when he gets in the locker room. When you're up 7-2, if you had hit 3 home runs in the game already, and it was your 4th, and you're at home, like if Yordan Alvarez had hit that and kind of lost himself hitting a 3rd or 4th home run in a game, let's say, or something crazy like that, or it's your 50th home run of the year, even if it's individual getting away from the game score, I'm okay with that. And I am not on the side of like old fogey, like, some of these rules are ridiculous. I can't bunt because this is the score. Like some of that stuff is just dumb. But this was everybody kind of across the board, I think, probably felt the way Dusty felt. And it's one of those situations where even though Escobar and then you see Maldonado having, by the way, those are 2 of the better vets in the league. They get it, right? They both get it. There are probably apologies being shared on behalf of the teammates. Literally, I mean that. A lot of times you don't hear that stuff shared because it's like, well, you don't, when somebody knocks down, like in a football game, if I try and tackle you and I bust you and you fall down, I'm not going to pick you up. Like, you're not my teammate. Hopefully you don't step on them, but you step over them, right? And that's it. And do your shimmy or whatever you do. They're not going to say it, but there's like apologies from their own team because they just know this isn't the way you play. Right? And that's cool. I'm totally fine with that. I get that. I do get that. But this is where we get so crossed up because we don't treat things the same way as a sport. And some people do individual things and make decisions that are just so dumb that I think we all get crossed up on what we're supposed to do. Give you an example. Because what happens is, and for those who didn't see, so Siri then, he apologizes and said it was an error, and Dusty was not happy, and clearly, and no manager would have been in that spot. And then he goes out, and he had a moment where, and look, I have felt this not after the cursing, but in different spots over the years on Twitter, where there have been a couple of times where I've just wanted to fire back. I've never been that way on Twitter because first of all, it's worthless. It's not going to take you anywhere good, right? So I like to kill people with kindness. Like when somebody, you would, as long as it's not anti-Semitic or something crazy, which I'll just delete or mute or block. And you got to get to that level for me to do that. Like I usually just, somebody will be like, you're the biggest, saddest idiot ever, yada, yada, yada. And I might reply something like, hey, look, dude, I see you looking through my window. Do you want to come in for dinner? Like I just, just to be an ass, right? Like, because it's not even worth getting mad. But I've had things where it's like, oh, man, I really want to spout off or say something about this, whatever it is, right? Or somebody said about me or whatever it might be. And you got that moment where you got to put your phone away. And he didn't do that. Jose didn't do that. And he's like effing bad decisions or whatever he put on there. And now it not only do you got to deal with that and then delete it, which you can't delete Twitter. Like you could delete a tweet, right? And I have done that when I've spelled things wrong. I've done that when I've accidentally, and this happened to me, it does not happen often. I mean, I make mistakes, but I actually had about a month or 2 ago where I was walking the dog. Please, this is not, welcome to, what is he talking about now? If you just turned on now, I think I was wiping my daughter's butt. And I had missed a couple of at-bats in the 9th inning of a game, and I thought something was Edwin Diaz's fault, and it wasn't. And I made an Armando Benitez joke because that's just where my PTSD and all the therapy I've needed as a Met fan has gone. And I realized I was wrong. I didn't know. I really didn't. And then I deleted it. Because, I don't want to look like an idiot, but I was wrong. I mean, I don't want to put out something that's not accurate. I really didn't know. It was a reminder to me because it was innocuous, but I wasn't doing it on purpose. But it was a reminder in a spot of like, you can't You just can't ever get that way. You always got to be careful, right? So you can't delete the tweet. But, for Jose, it's like what's behind that is what I worry about. Because you can't be saying to me in some disingenuous manner, like it's an error, and you made a mistake, my bad. And that's okay. And he's a kid. Like, that's okay. Like, I'm sorry. Like, people don't hear about that. I care about that. Like, athletes, it's like when somebody like college basketball or like college baseball or something, like they're in college. Do you know how stupid we were when we were in college? Like, these people in college, I expect them to do everything right? No, I don't expect it. It's like when Bryce Harper was, would say something, even like before he was up in the big leagues, and it's like, or blow kisses or whatever. It's like, dude, I don't care if he blew a kiss. He's 19. I mean, you know how many stupid things I did when I was 19? I did stupid things when I was 29, 39. But you know what I'm saying? But it shows off that you don't get it, and that's the problem. Because you need the young player in this spot to understand. It's not just about, like, we could do a whole show. This hill, if I did top 10 hills to die on, on things that drive me absolutely bananas to a level I could not do a show without cursing. And I accidentally will pop, a little off here or there here, but I got to be careful because now they're syndicating and they actually, which is thank you for liking my content, but I got to be careful. But I got to be totally real with you. It would be in the top 5, not even top 10. It would be top 5 for me in life. And maybe I'll do a show on this one day, like this kind of top 10. Because you want to like hear the real me, like get mad. It would be top 5, not even top 10. Because I'm like the guy who tells, like, if you know me long enough, every movie I've ever seen is in my top 20. How top 20 what? Like with times 8? Like it doesn't, right? A Few Good Men's my favorite movie, by the way. That is fact. But, and then probably Goodfellas. Anyway, you don't want the list. Point being, top 5 for me in like life hills to die on. Nobody in this world. Not nobody. Over-exaggeration. Backtrack. Here we go. Live podcasting. Most people I've met in life have no idea what the words I'm sorry mean. Repeat that. Most people I have met in life have literally no idea what the words I'm sorry mean. None. Like they don't understand it. Now, I know I don't understand a lot of things, and I get a lot of things wrong, and I got a lot of weaknesses and all that stuff. I'll read them to you right on, alongside, like, we'll do it'll be like the podcasting dating app. I like long walks on the beach and hear all my weaknesses on the right, and or like in Jumanji when they come up on the screen, right, which my kids and I love watching. Like, okay, and I got plenty, I promise, right? But I understand what those words mean. Most people don't. I think you got to be like an empathetic person who's been hurt too many times to understand them. Because when you hear them, like I could tell when it's genuine. And I literally, for people who know me in my life, would attest to this. I'll be more appreciative than anybody's ever been. And you'll see it like immediately on my face and hear it because I'm so aware of how few people understand what the words I'm sorry is supposed to mean. It is not I'm sorry that you feel bad, which is nice. By the way, that's not terrible. Like you do, that gets overblown. Yeah, I'm glad that you're sorry that I feel bad. But that's not why people say it. They say it to escape the guilt. Now, look, I understand guilt. I understand Jewish guilt. I understand any kinds of guilt, right? But the problem is nobody understands in this world accountability, and that's why they don't really understand what the words I'm sorry mean. Like, I wish we'd be in an episode of House and you could diagnose what's wrong with people, that they don't understand what I'm sorry is supposed to mean, but they really don't. Like, and if you ever want to know how much people don't understand what I'm sorry means, go talk to anyone, like family, friends, relationship, who has needed to say this to you, and make them expound past the first 2 words. They're dead. They're gone. They will prove this to you within the next 10 words. Because I is going to be in it, like them, right? But is going to be everywhere. Like, I mean, like, baby got back, kind of like big old butt everywhere. But people don't understand that. They don't get it. So maybe I'll do, like, eventually, like some kind of top 10 on the life hills to die on. But this is the problem we get into with things like this, because I can't get on Jose. I mean, he's a kid, right? And for him, he's feeling a moment like he hit a big home run. Look, and I want to defend this. I get it's not like he's hit 400 home runs in his career, right? Like if you've been doing this every day and this is who you are, right? Like if this was like Willie Mays in his 18th season, Albert Pujols in year 9 of the first 10 years of his career, and I mean, and I understand those guys would never do it, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, okay, it's like you've been like Steph Curry hits a 3, like how many of those he hit, right? But you won't see him do it every 3. But if it's a big one, then you get this, or you get Dame with we're rocking babies, or who knows what else, or we're checking the rings, right? I mean, I get that, right? Jose's a kid. But the problem we have is when these PR departments, and this is what happens in sports, right? You got to go and you got to get your machine out, and you got to do the right thing. And the player sometimes is kind of in that, but not really understanding even what they're saying. And this is irony, and I'm not, please understand, I'm really not getting on the Astros. I'm not. And I don't want to get into what they did years ago. But I'll bring up this part. I thought it was so unfair to the players. Whoever in the organization's idea, and I said this on the air at the time, whoever in the organization's idea was, at their caravan, after everything had come out with the investigation, that you could tell, and everybody got on Alex Bregman and got on, I think it was Altuve, and I can't remember who else was there at the time. But they were asking these players in the dugout questions about what had happened, an investigation. Nobody really understood exactly what had come out yet. And it was clear, like, nobody had talked to them about what to say, what not to say, how do we feel. They hadn't talked to each other. You can't put kids in that spot. You can't put anybody in that spot. That's not what they do, first of all. And we're talking about people in their 20s who are they're trying to concentrate on a game, which is really hard to play, all right? I'm sorry you don't want to hear me defend people who, like, you don't like, or they were wrapped into this or whatever. Like, that's life, right? So I get it if you're Jose, but everybody around him's got to do a better job, make sure it doesn't happen. Because then when the tweet goes out, now it's disingenuous, and it's like, it brings me into, which I wanted to bring up, the other times we've seen this happen. And I love when guys kind of put their foot down and they're like, no. I mean, I hate to go back to, I love Tim Anderson. And I'll get him on the show one of these times. And speaking of the NBA, he's talking about the Lakers forever. But I love people who are, and going back to, there are a lot of things, I'm far from perfect. But I really am not afraid to be me at all. Like, at all, okay? Like, I'll sing to you right now. I will, like, I can't dance. I'll try that. I can't sing either. But I don't care, really. Like, I don't, if I'm enjoying life, like, I'm trying to share that, right? If I'm not going to pretend I am. Like, that's just not how I roll. Sorry. I don't care what anybody thinks. Except for my kids, okay? But when people like Tim Anderson are like, we're not going to take it anymore, almost to go back to, like, Long Island, like D. Snyder, I love that. Like, there are two other situations. One I brought up earlier in the first pod when we were doing the list, the Jace Tingler scenario where I got Fernando Tatis Jr., and he's swinging 3-0 and I'm getting mad. Like, are you crazy? Like, it would be like if it was, I don't care if you're 5, you're playing Candyland. Like, I could win now, but I should go backwards? Like, no, I'll just wait. You take 3 more turns. Like, the lessons in that are just garbage. I'm sorry. All right? Garbage. But the Yermin Mercedes, who just recently has resurfaced, what is he, San Francisco now? This guy, you can't find him. Now, first of all, nobody knew who he was. Some of you might not even know who I'm talking about yet. I'll expound. Nobody knew who he was. Then he had, like, the big 2 months. Then he had the big to-do. Then he had nothing to do. Thank you, Tony La Russa, who is the king. I'm so, like, look, and I have always had really good conversations with Tony La Russa, so I don't have anything personally against him at all. He's always been really nice to me, and he loves animals. The stuff he's done with his ARF Foundation, that's no BS. Like, and I have talked about it with him several times on and off the air. Like, him and his family, the stuff they've done for animals, like, I can't say anything bad about the guy. But I wouldn't want him to be my manager, to be honest with you, if I was a player. And I don't even think I'd like it if I was a fan, because it's just enough. This isn't 1935. Like, with everything. Like, everything. But let's go to Yermin Mercedes. And this is not just because And like Harold Baines, he was part of like, really? Like, we're just getting, let me get my buddies in the Hall of Fame. Like, no. All right. You want to throw, and I hate to throw away votes, but you want to throw away a vote to your cousin's neighbor because he had a nice career and he's on the ballot? Okay. Like, I don't like that because there's a maximum of 10. That's why I've always hated that because, and the Hall of Fame will be in the hills to die on. That I'm telling you. But you want to throw away a vote? Okay, fine. Like, it's not my thing. Fine. You only had 4 guys you liked, so the 5th guy is like you want to put in. And I'm not putting. I happen to remember a couple of names that I'm not going to say out loud that I've had people like try and like explain to me their vote, and then trying to tell me it's not because they covered it or liked them. Like they're giving me no, you don't understand. Like he was much more than his 270 average. Like come on. And it's before it was just. I'm not talking about batting average versus OPS or OBP. I mean, like like it wasn't his fault that he only had a maximum of 30 runs scored in a season or whatever the hell. Okay, I had a writer, and I liked Sean Green and took off for Yom Kippur, so like I feel him, but I had a writer like yelling at me like back and forth over like on a show for like 40 minutes about how their vote for Sean Green for the Hall of Fame was legitimate and he should be in there over others that could have been on that ballot. And I still haven't recovered from the PTSD. But the Yermi Mercedes situation, where he is just, he's going off. This guy's getting his moment. He's having his chance. And every chance he's got, he's hitting homers. Guy was a stud for the White Sox. They're in a game, and I don't remember what. I didn't even know I was going to do an extra podcast till like 5 minutes before I hopped on here. Welcome. That's how I am. And that's real. That's like, people like, no, he's probably over-exaggerating. And I'm a very big preparation guy, but a lot of it is like, I'm constant. I carry pens with me all the time. Instead of Post-it note, will email myself randomly. Like I have 19 emails about the next podcast that I've sent to myself while like walking to and from getting coffee, where like ideas will pop in, right? And then I'll look up a story to try and relate something to it and see if there's something I want to use or a quote that I like from somebody that I want to kind of cite and get into. And that's kind of how I am. But I didn't plan on doing an extra episode. I just dropped 2 of these. So I don't remember what the score was. But there's a position player on the mound. When a position player is on the mound, let me tell you something, okay? This is sports. When you're in a boxing ring or an octagon, go ask anyone who's ever been in combat sports. If I know, and I don't care if you're 5 playing Tyson's Punch-Out, when you know Glass Joe how to get to him, or the guy you hit in the stomach and the pants fall, right? All that. If I know that you got a broken rib on the left side, what side do you think I'm hitting you on? If I know your eye, whether it was an accidental poke or not, you can't see out of it. You're in the corner blinking and your eye is all kind of crazy. You think I'm going to hit you on the other side of the face to be nice to you? That's sports. If you put a position player on the mound, it might be the only chance I would ever have of getting a hit. And I say chance. I'm still not saying I would get one. I say chance, right? You put a position player on the mound, like, dude, I don't care what the hell the score is. It doesn't matter if, like, we clinched the division like 2 weeks ago and your team sucks. You put a position player on that mound, I'm out there to kill you, like in baseball form, right? I'm sorry. Like, that's embarrassing to me. Like, you think that guy's going to get me? What, am I going to let him strike me out? Should I bunt? Let's check swing. Let's try and hit the ball the other way. What are you, crazy? I don't care if the count's 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. As long as I haven't heard strike 3, you're mine. Like, I'm swinging away. I'm trying to hurt you because I got to get numbers to get paid. This guy hadn't been in the league for he had been pounded in the minor leagues, right? I remember there's so many of these stories that I love over the years, like Young Everest Solarte, when he came up with the Yankees after all those years. Like, guys who, like, they're around the minor leagues forever, and all of a sudden, like, if you're getting a sniff, like, you're living in, like, they're in a dream world. They've been riding buses back and forth and dealing with hell and never got their shot. And now he's getting his shot, and he's red hot at the plate. And this dude is trying to earn cash and change his life. I'm sorry. Baseball's a one-on-one game. I've talked about this a lot. More than any of these other sports, unless you're talking about playing tennis or golf, right? Or boxing. It is one-on-one often. Like, I'm sorry. Like, this dude trying to get paid, you're putting out somebody that can pummel. He's throwing 38 miles an hour. I'm out there to crush the ball. My manager's saying crap to me afterwards, like, I did something wrong. You know what, dude? That's the only guy you could still probably walk your old butt out there and hit right now. Would you not want to hit Homer? I mean, come on, man. And this guy's whole career, where is he? He went into, like, witness protection because Tony La Russa basically sent him there. And I'm not trying to say this, but I'm saying this. Ruined him. Like, ruined his life. Ruined his career. Ruined his life. Sent him away, basically. Put him down. I love Lance Lynn. I've always loved Lance Lynn, who I've had on the show when I was doing one 1,000,000 times. And it is not any, like, coincidence that he is what I'll call, like, the Adam Wainwright disciple and has become, like, just such a good dude. And Waino's, like, the best. I love Lance Lynn. Anyway, but go back to his, I don't remember the exact quote. I should have, see, if I would have prepared, I would have had the quote ready. But the quote he said, where he basically was saying, nah, I'm not with Tony on this one. And then Tony La Russa went back into a press conference and said, that's why I have an office, and he's sitting on a stool. I would have taken that stool like it was in some WWE match and smashed it over Tony's head if it was me. That's why I can't really survive in society. Better with headphones on that look like I'm going to beam me up somewhere. But you can't put this guy out of commission because he swung 3-0 against a position player, and Tim Anderson wasn't taking that crap either. I wouldn't. They probably hate Tony La Russa. They're not going to say it. There's a difference between, like, you know, Coach K toughened me up or Bill Parcells toughened me up or whatever and showed me how to be this or showed me how to be that. And I know a lot of people who love Bobby Knight despite all the stuff that happened, right? Like, that's different. Tough love, we get that. Like, I get that. Like, you can't handle me. How are you going to handle that out there? I get that. This isn't that. This is dumb. But when that kind of crap, when that happens, then players, no one knows what they're supposed to do or when to do it. Like, we got all these rookie development programs and meetings that we got before the year and all this stuff we're still talking about, like, how muddied the ball is. Can we figure out how to get everyone on the same page? Because this is not that hard to me. Like, even I feel like I got to hold on this. Okay, so if it's 4-4 in the 8th inning, I can pretty much do a lot and get away with it, right? Not if I'm a rookie, probably, but if I got any street cred, okay. Like, you can't get away with stuff the first day of high school. You can in the second year. That's life. Sorry. Like, I get that. I do. I'm going to get calls from an ump, or, you know, you're not going to get foul calls in the NBA. I get all that, right? I get that. You're not giving a pass interference to Dion or Champ Bailey or somebody like the Darryl Green, right? You're going to give it to the guy who's the rookie, though, who's trying to defend Jerry Rice. I get that. Like, sorry. It's like the people who, like, yell, like, in Colorado, and I love Colorado. I do. I really do. But it's like, I can't tell you how many people over the years that I know, even friends in Colorado, like, dude, why are we in the playoffs? Why are we playing at 3 p.m? Like, why aren't we getting prime time? If you're in Colorado and you don't know why the Yankees or Dodgers are on prime time, now you may hate it, but if you don't know why, I can't help you. The Jose Siri situation is the situation is a victim of how much we don't understand time and score and place. And that is why it was as bad as it was. But you got to hold things in sometimes, right? There's that whole thing about, like, and I'm trying to think of, like, the best example to give that's as far away from sports. And I don't know the answer to this because everybody's got their own opinion, right? I really don't know what you're supposed to do. Like, I was married. Like, if you're, and this did not happen, like, they could cook and all of that, so please, before people get crazy. But, like, I'm trying to think, like, if your mother-in-law or, like, you're dating somebody and their mother or their parents, father, whoever, like, cooks you dinner and it's terrible, right? If it sucks. You're not going to tell them it sucks, are you? Now, you may not go, I hope, God, I hope. You may not go overboard and go, like, you know, Bob Wiley, like, what about Bob? Bill Murray go, is this hand chuck corn? Like, you're not going to do that, but you're not going to go overboard. You're not going to say the other way, man, this is the garbage meal of the century. You got any, like, you know, you got any ramen noodles, or can I get, like, you know, perhaps, like, you know, got a Lunchables I can eat? Like, no, you're not going to do that. Is that lying? I don't know if that's lying. Like, they're going to say, how is it? And then it's like, to me, it's like it's always in that spot. I'm not going to tell you. Like, if somebody who shouldn't be wearing a half shirt is wearing a half shirt and then walks up to you and says, how do I look? What do you say? I don't know the answers. Look fine to me. Like, I don't know. Sorry. I mean, this should be another show. Top 10 things. I got to do 1,000 things. People never talk about it. Everyone's like been in a situation like, and they just don't even understand. Like, how do you tell the guy on the train, like, when he gets out of the bathroom, it's a train. Could you really not go before you came here? Like, I know you got to pee. You drank a beer at the station. What did you eat? And when did you decide? I tell my 5-year-old all the time, like, if we're going out, like, hey, no, you should go now. Because like, when we go there, and you're going to take them. Like, yeah, they don't understand that. I mean, it's not manipulative. Is that manipulative? Like, it's like, it's the process of learning, like, the responsibility of even your own body, like in the restroom, and like we got to drive somewhere or whatever. The guy on the train, the Long Island Railroad, dude. You can wait till you get home. I'm on track 16. I got to go to Rockville Center and yada, and then all the way to Ronkonkoma or Babylon. You could wait to Babylon. Dude, seriously. I couldn't wait till Monday. Another podcast coming with the list. Top 10 sports hills to die on. This was episode 5. It was episode 5. See, I learned to count by the time we're done. It's 41 minutes spending time with you people. And then after when I get done, I realize I talk to the dog and myself. What did I do here?